Hello and welcome everybody to the Twins Off Daily podcast brought to you by twinsdaily.com, the finest source for independent Twins coverage on the interwebs. Here we are, everybody, day 5 of the All-Star Break Podnanza. We are getting it just under the wire today on Friday morning, and we have something extra special for our listeners today. It is a mailbag episode. But first, let's introduce the rest of the panel here. Mr. Gregory Masterson, what's going on?
It's Prime Week, so, well, I think that explains enough.
All right. How about you, Cody? How's your Prime Week going?
Oh, great. I ordered nothing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I live in Milwaukee, as I noted in a previous episode, and out of the break, the Twins are playing the Brewers, so I won't be able to watch the Twins because of blackout restrictions. But yeah, that's unfortunate. So I'll be able to listen to Chris Atterbury, who I like, but yeah, unfortunately, I'll be missing the first 2 games out of the break.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. But like we said, we're very happy to be here. And I think we should just jump right into the questions here. I think this is going to be a fun thing that we do going forward periodically. And we got some pretty interesting questions from some interesting sources. So let's dive right into it. Mr. Gregory, what is our first question?
So we've got a question from I am not suspended. That is one of my favorite handles in the game right now. I am not suspended. Not for long anyway. So I am not suspended asked, should the Twins be building their postseason lineup to not include Santana versus righties? I'm going to swing it over to Cody for this one.
So to start, let's look at Santana's splits against righties and lefties. So against lefties, he's hitting 305, 352, and 585 in 88 plate appearances with 25 hits and 6 home runs. In comparison, against righties, as the question asker noted, he's hitting 222, 316, 369, and 256 plate appearances. He has 50 hits and 7 home runs. So, yeah, there is a pretty decent discrepancy between how well he's hitting versus righties and lefties. I think with this situation, what's most important is to take into context. So if you're going to take Santana out against righties, who are you going to replace him with? Right now, the only viable option is Jose Miranda. But right now, his spot, he's kind of stuck at third. I mean, he's actually injured right now, but he's stuck at third as long as Lewis is out and Correa is dealing with, we don't know if he's going to play shortstop or not. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy there. I think the only other realistic option is Alex Kirilloff. We have no idea what's going to happen with him going forward. He would be a good option against righties in theory. But I think overall, like Santana kind of is your only option at first base. So while it's not ideal to have a guy who's hitting only 222 against righties in the lineup, they kind of don't have another choice, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's well said. I think another thing is that the team clearly they value his defense at first so much, and I think that they will take the negative splits that come with it for the most part. I think my answer would probably be that they should be planning for an alternative if they're facing a right-handed pitcher. I'm not confident that they would, especially because they want him in the game ideally for the entire duration, and if you're talking about other options like Jose Miranda or another, somebody else of that caliber, they might value that position more as a pinch hitter later on in the game elsewhere in the lineup, so to speak. So I think that they should be planning for it, but they won't necessarily this year.
Yeah, and I think that part of this calculus and kind of the elephant in the room could be somebody like Edouard Julien. Even after Royce Lewis comes back, if Royce Lewis comes back and is healthy for the playoffs and everything, an option over there could be Miranda. Miranda could also DH, and Julien could be over there. He has been playing more and more. He's not playing regularly there right now in St. Paul, but he has been playing more, and I'm sure that they're working with him behind the scenes. If he's able to hit and come up, I could definitely see that happening. And I do think that, having Santana off the bench as a pinch hitter versus left-handed hitting or left-handed pitching is huge. You could also see something sort of like we saw down the stretch while Julien was at second base last year, where Seventh inning comes around, he has his last at bat, and Kyle Farmer goes out and replaces him in the field.
Sure.
You could see something like that with Santana, where sixth, seventh inning, you say, okay, Julian's probably not going to have another at bat here unless we get to the bottom of the ninth or something. So send Santana out there and make sure that the defense is as good as possible.
Another part of the calculus is that you need to plan for Christian Vasquez to get some time at third base, but we'll leave that for another question. Greg, what do we got next? What's our next question here?
Yeah, the second question I've got here. This one is from I need to ask John how to say his last name. I don't know if it's Lano or Lano, but John Lano, voice. I'm going to go with Lano. How many years beyond Correa's 6 guaranteed will he play with the Twins? Lou, start us on this one.
First of all, I see him sticking around for the duration of that entire contract, for sure. I forget, does he have options at the end of that the team?
They're all team options.
All team options.
So there is vesting options, and so at the end of his deal in 2029, he's going to be 34. So in order for his deal to vest into his 7th year, he needs either 575 plate appearances in 2028. He needs to be top 5 in 2028 MVP. Or he needs to have a Silver Slugger Award or the LCS MVP or World Series MVP. So he needs one of those 5 things to happen for it to vest. And then as the years go on, I think it drops down to like 550 plate appearances for it to vest in 2030. And it hovers around there, but pretty much he needs to either have a lot of plate appearances or he needs to perform super well in the postseason for him to stay on the team.
Yeah. I think it also depends on in those last couple of seasons where he's playing defensively, if anywhere. I think it's unlikely that he'll be the shortstop at the end of that. You never know, but I think it's looking unlikely. But maybe he moves to third. Maybe he moves elsewhere. But I don't know if it's going to be much later than that, just because we've seen this team have a kind of hesitancy to commit to players into their late 30s unless they're at a bargain rate. And I don't know if I see him agreeing to a bargain rate. But the good news is that he talks more and more every year, it seems like, about how much he likes it and enjoys playing for the Twins organization and how much he respects them. So I could see it happening, but I don't know if it's so likely, so to speak.
Yeah,
and I also wanted to point out this about the contract. The options are very goofy toward the end. So the option for 2019 is $25 million. For 2030, it's $20 million. 31 is $15 million. And 32 is $10 million. So I feel like if he gets the options picked up for the second 2 years, it's almost a guarantee that he's also going to be sticking around for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the Carlos Correa we're seeing this year or in 2022, his first year. We're not going to be seeing that in 2032. But if he's like a reasonable player, just like a solid regular, even at that time, he'll be in his mid 30s. If he's even like a solid regular, I'm sure that would be a bargain at 10 million. So it's very interesting that I feel like if like even the first one gets picked up, I would bank on the last 3 getting picked up.
Especially 2032. I mean, $10 million is going to be like twice the league minimum or something. You know what I mean? Like inflation is going to make that number seem even less significant at that point.
Yeah, I also want to add, so the team did draft Keelan Culpepper and Kyle DeBarge in this year's drafts, and they're both college shortstops. Obviously, that doesn't translate to MLB shortstop. I mean, they have Brooks Lee too, and this isn't even noting like future drafts where I bet they will draft more shortstops, whether it's high school or college. So hopefully maybe they'll be prepped to, if he transitions off of short into third or maybe to first base or maybe like into more of a DH role, they could have more backup there. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but it's just going to take a long time to see, what flourishes.
I would be super interested to see like a 35-year-old Carlos Correa playing first base.
Yeah, actually, that would be
he's
really
6'4". He is, he's very coordinated. He's never been like the fleetest of foot to begin with. But like, you might see like it might end up being like a kind of a 6'4" Carlos Santana by the end of that. So.
Well, if you remember, when he was going to sign with the Mets, he was going to transition to third base and bulk up to try to get more power. So I wonder if, like, in his mind, he might say, I'm going to first. I'm going to try to bulk up and maybe try to hit for more power. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully that's a few years off still.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing him play shortstop, and as long as he's able to, I'd love to see that keep going. All right, let's get into another one. This one is actually, I'm going to ask two. They kind of go together. I'm going to start with Ed Helinski, who asked, in your opinion, should chicken wings be
blazing?
What's a synonym for
we could do the blazing from
blazing. Let's use that word instead. Should they be blazing, hot, medium, mild in the heat index? And is your side creamy blue cheese, ranch dressing, or nothing? And a second similar question from Josiah Waldner was just best dipping sauce. So we are quickly transitioning from baseball into our favorite snacks.
I'll start. The answer is yes to both questions. I have been telling my friends recently, as we try more and more of the chicken locales around the Twin Cities here, start low. You start low with a mild to get a play for how the wing goes, and then you work your way up. Because too often I hear people say like, "Oh yeah, I like spicy food," and they start with the spiciest one, and then they can't finish it, and they try to be like, "Oh, it's good. I promise, it's really good. It's just so hot." So I tell everybody, get yourself a range. Start low and slow. Work your way up. As far as the side dipping sauces go, I'm a big honey mustard guy. I think that goes with a lot of chicken wings. So that would be my pick over ranch or blue cheese.
So if I were to say traditional buffalo, would that be hot or medium?
It's a good question. I think naturally it's probably closer to medium, but
okay,
I could see it going either way.
So I'll go with medium then. I like a nice traditional buffalo with like the hot sauce and the butter mixed together.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite dipping sauce. I used to be a big ranch kid, but then when I was younger, but I've gotten into blue cheese a lot lately. So I would prefer blue cheese. To answer Josiah's question, I think I've gotten into garlic aioli a lot lately. Like it's like a fried dipping sauce. So I would say garlic aioli or any type of aioli is really good for a dipping sauce for like chicken nuggets or fries or anything like that.
That's a great answer.
Mm-hmm. Gregg.
You're on mute, Gregg.
Sorry about that. My cat was acting up again. I don't know if you could hear little Kierkegaard screaming out there, but from dipping sauce, it might make me a sicko or a basic guy, but I like having some buffalo ranch, especially if I kind of measure it out myself and make that. For the hotness of the wings, I'm a huge proponent of hot not being a flavor, but heat does accompany some very good flavors, and so I don't have a preference for level of heat. I've got to taste it first. I'm good with some hot stuff as long as it actually tastes good. The accompanying vegetables or whatever that made it taste good. But that's where I sit on this one.
They got to get some chicken wings at Target Field. I feel like I think that would be a good draw. I think I would like to see that.
I don't know. I think that ballpark food has gotten a little bit. It's lost the plot a bit.
No, it lost the plot years ago. That's why you just got to keep rolling down this path. I feel like.
Fine, whatever. That might be a future gripe.
Greg's used to going to the ballpark when you could get like hot dogs for a nickel and like a pack of cigarettes and like. But
I could just spend $15 at North Shore Creamery to get ice cream in a hat.
Nice. There you go.
So I've got a question here from one Marvin Gumbleton. This one says, "Oi, bruv, I thought the adopted Londoner Jamie Cameron was supposed to be on today. What gives?" Jamie has been ducking our calls for weeks now. He blamed it on something called small children. And if you've been listening to our recent podcasts, you will know that Lou does not take that as an excuse. Lou would be of the mind that that's your problem. And
yes.
you know what? You can take that up with Lou Hennessy at Sweet Lou MN, child hater.
Known child hater. Yep.
He also brought up the time zone difference between England and Minnesota, but we thought he was a adopted Londoner, right? He doesn't live there anymore, right, Greg?
I try to learn as little about Jamie Cameron as I possibly can, so I do not know the answer to that question.
Well, if that snake ever wants to slither on over into our episode, we'll be waiting for him. You heard us, Jamie the Snake. Open invitation.
Jamie the I'm gonna call him Jamie the Snake.
Enemy of the show.
We've also got one from a John Bonus. Gregory, can I borrow your Porsche again? No, sorry, John Bonus. That was a one-time thing. We've got one from Andrew. Let's just call him the Briz. Says, Sweet Lou and I used to be cordial coworkers, but every time I ask him for a hams, he tells me to chart your ball game. Am I the a-hole? Lou, I'm not sure what this means.
Yeah, so Sir Briz, friend of the show, he and I worked together as video scouts at Inside Edge Advanced Scouting. So we were working in the trenches together, watching these ball games. And it was a very common thing when someone was done with an argument or a conversation that they would just say, chart your ball game. It's kind of like a, shut up, please, move on. And so actually, this is a bold-faced lie from Briz. I have an open invitation to any of our listeners. If they want to share a hams with me, I got plenty. I got a whole rack in my fridge ready for just the occasion. So open invitation. Let me know. I'll have a cold one ready for you. That includes you, Mr. Briz, and thank you for sending the question in.
And Lou, I think that you also have some questions.
Yeah, let's see. I have one here from Manny M. He says, I have this problem where I find myself staring into bright stadium lights while I'm trying to do my job. How can I fix this? This is a tricky question. I think that if you're dealing with these sort of distractions, Mr. Manny M, whatever that could stand for, I think you got to get straight up horse blinders. I think he needs to not only have the bill of his cap, but he needs kind of the side partitions as well to keep himself laser focused so that he can actually do his job instead of blinding himself in those stadium lights. What do you guys think? Do you have any other solutions for Mr. Manny M?
I've actually had that same question as, did you say that this man's name was Manny M or was it M. Magoo?
I had Manny M, but
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I don't hear super well. I have actually had that exact same issue. When I was in high school, I was a football player, and there was a game that I couldn't stop staring at the lights, and then, everything inside of my head would hurt at the same time. And then I realized I had a concussion. My third concussion, my junior year of football. It was a fun day. I was an offensive lineman. I got myself run over by a future college defensive tackle, helmet to helmet collision. There was like 3 of us that ended up with concussions. Our slot receiver couldn't remember the plays, and so I would be on the line, like telling him which routes to run. Like we would run to the line, and he'd be like, Greg, what's a 2 route? And I used to play tight end, so I would be able to tell him. But yeah, I think our listener might have a concussion.
Yeah, Greg, I think that's part of the danger of playing with those rubber helmets or those leather helmets that you used to have back in the day before the technology came out for the hard-sided helmet. Football. But yeah, I think they actually named these new helmets after you. So congratulations.
Yeah, I think with Manny M too, maybe it's important to look into past circumstances. I mean, maybe did he work somewhere in the past that also had light issues, like maybe Tampa Bay, for example? Like maybe he's just kind of suffering. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions about Manny M or M. Magoo, but yeah, maybe past places he used to work are affecting him still today. Who knows?
Yeah, very well might be. Well, I think well said, and I hope Manny takes this advice to heart. The next question I have here is from Amos. It says, I worked in the copper mines with Gregg back in 2004, not that 2004. And how does he keep his voice so velvety smooth after all these years? Gregg, do you want to take this one away?
Yeah, cigarettes.
Oh,
Easy peasy.
That's it. Yeah. I've got a couple more here. Cody, did you end up getting any sent to you?
yeah, I did. So listener named Dave K. He says the Twins don't speak my language of hitting. Why are they ruining my son?
Ooh.
What does that mean?
Dear.
That's an odd question.
Dave, I don't have an answer for you with this one, and I think we might need to move on from that one. I've got one here from somebody named Hayek. Hayek. Not sure who that might be. Dear Gregg, please return my calls, and will you go on a date with me? Sorry, Hayek. I am happily married, and I will not go on a date with you. We've got a couple more that kind of were on the same topic. From Ben Alfalfa. Can you estimate the percentage of total team expenses dedicated to TC Bear sending asbestos-laden packages to Gregg in an attempt to silence him with Bear on Human Hands scandal? What a run-on sentence, Ben Alfalfa. I think we need to start asking questions at the top. The payroll cuts, were they really due to the TV situation, or is TC Bear wasting all of their money trying to intimidate and silence old Gregg? I'm not sure. And then will the Twins be building their postseason? Well, no, I already read that. Sorry. First time question asker from Chase Harlow. How long will they let TC freeload off the roster and take up space? Lou, I think you're the expert on this one.
Sources are telling me that the Twins are aggressively shopping TC Bear as the trade deadline approaches. Some of his Say Bear analytics have dipped recently, but some of his underlying metrics show that there could be some value there for a contending team to pick him up. And I think at this point, that roster spot is just more valuable for the Twins than with that crazy human hand monster atrocity that is rocking across the field on a day-to-day basis. What do you think, Cody?
I noticed Gregg has created a lot of anti-TC Bear sentiment, and I feel like people are kind of catching on. It's becoming a movement. He's kind of becoming, kind of a victim here. Gregg, do you feel bad about what you've done to TC?
No, TC should feel bad about what he did to the old TC. I've done some investigative journalism and journaling. I've been doing a lot of journaling. Nobody needs to read that. But it's a different Bear. He doesn't look the same. Facial structure, he's been replaced, just like they did with Avril Lavigne, just like they did with Andrew WK, just like they did with John Lennon, I think. I don't know. I never got into those new age hippies. It's a mess out there, and I don't blame TC, I blame TC. I don't have any sympathy, and he blocked me, so I know that I'm up to something.
Wait,
our last question came from an Orville overall. Fellas, with the second half beginning, how do you feel like the AL Central standings will shake out by the end of the year? Do you see the Twins in first place? Do you see them as a wild card team? How do we feel? Make a bold prediction.
So the Twins, while we're recording this episode, are 4.5 games back of the Cleveland Guardians, but it's technically 5 games because the Guardians will likely have the tiebreaker against the Twins. I think that's a pretty good line. I think that the Twins have been surging since May 1st and have gained some ground on Cleveland, and I think that that trend will continue. Especially if some of these injuries to the Twins end up being minor deals. I'm talking about Carlos Correa. I'm talking about Jose Miranda. I'm talking about Byron Buxton always. And so if they can be relatively healthy, I think that the Twins would be in good shape to make it a very close race.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a hot take here just for the sake of it. So I think the Twins will pass Cleveland, and not only will the Twins, but I think the Royals will also pass Cleveland in the standings. And I think Cleveland is going to fall out of the playoff picture entirely. I'm only saying that because I don't like Cleveland. There's no actual merit to these claims. Cleveland likely will make the playoffs realistically, but I'm just going to say, simply because I am a hater of Cleveland, I think the Twins and the Royals will usurp them in the standings, and Cleveland will fall out. And Stephen Vogt will be very sad about that.
That's personal, taking it out on poor Stephen Vogt.
Yeah.
So the Royals are 7 games back right now on the Guardians. So I don't see that happening, but you can be a hater. I would never poke fun at any Guardians or Guardians fans. I guess I'm going to say I think that the Guardians will win the division. I do not think the Twins will pass them, but I actually do think that the Twins are going to be the top wild card, the 4 seed, and will host a first-round playoff game. I don't have a ton of faith in the Yankees right now with how much of a mess their lineup is outside of Judge and Soto. I do believe that the Twins are going to catch the Yankees. The Yankees are going to struggle in the second half, I believe. And I think that the Twins are going to be the 4 in the top wild card, the 4 in the playoffs for the AL. I'm not sure who 5 and 6 are going to be, but that would be my prediction.
That'd be fun. Time to slay the dragon. Now's the time. So I think everybody would be really excited to see that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Boston can catch the Yankees too, maybe pass them in the standings as well. But yeah,
they're 3.5 back. I mean, they're closer than the Twins are to the Guardians right now. So.
Nice.
True.
Awesome. Well, hey, any other questions we have on the docket here, or was that it?
I think that's all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a very successful first mailbag call, and I'm really happy that our listeners were able to send in some questions. And I think next time we need to get a specialized intro song, just like Lehman and the Geek do. We'll just take their song and it's time for mailbag with Twins Off Daily Pod.
Just do some light plagiarism.
Yes, light plagiarism. I like it.
Some light plagiarism between friends.
Light plagiarism and some light treason. Let's go for it. Okay. Well, I think on behalf of Gregg and Cody, we want to thank you all again for listening to this All-Star Podnanza. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but we were really happy to be able to bring you 5 top-tier quality episodes on these 5 off days. Our next episode is going to be Thursday, July 25th, I believe, is the next off day for the Twins.
Yes.
So until then, everybody, thank you very much. And as always, stay sweet.